I've heard rumors that the Ripple case will be settled December 15th, and we'll just see. And that could have catastrophic implications for the industry.
Welcome back to the Crypto's Key Conversation. That's just a quick segment of one of Charles Hoskinson's AMAs that he had, and this kind of been a conversation that's been going around Twitter in regards of this, theory that he has, or his prediction in regards of what's happening in the Ripple versus SEC litigation there. Stefan Huber says, did he really say the Ripple settlement next week will have a catastrophic consequences for crypto? Is it because Ripple will settle and not work further to give the rest of the space clarity? Would at least explain your latest odd takes on the case. Oh man, next week. So a lot of people are kind of speculating, like, man, are these rumors true? Are we going to see something here in a week? In regards to litigation, what is it going to mean for the entire industry? And continuing on here, Digital Perspective actually put I think a 50-second clip here that kind of talked a little bit more in regards of what Charles Hoskinson was saying within this AMA. So we're going to take a quick listen into this, and we're going to talk more about kind of what people are talking about.
Fourth, I would believe that then Ethereum and Bitcoin would also be securities, and they'd be in a bigger debacle. And this problem with regulations through enforcement, there's not much you can do. Just any given Sunday, it's whoever the regulator decides to pick, and then there's a big fight. $100 million is spent. It's brutal and vicious, and a lot of hard feelings. And sometimes people win, sometimes people don't. I've heard rumors that the Ripple case will be settled December 15th, and we'll just see. And that could have catastrophic implications for the industry, one way or the other. But you just keep moving forward. Regardless of what happens, it's a decentralized ecosystem that you guys control. And the United States of America doesn't get to say that Cardano lives or dies. You do. The world.
So, there's some truth to what he's saying at the end there. It really is a decentralized community. We decide, what has value, what is of value, especially when it comes to, if the project has, a true team behind it, they are right and just trying to do things the right way. They have true use case and utility in solving a real world problem. But for the conversation or the point that he was making in regards of catastrophic consequences, let me make sure that's what he said. Yeah, catastrophic consequences for crypto. David kind of had shed a little bit of light on it. He says, we need Ripple to win this case and not settle. Worst case scenario is Ripple settles, but I don't know if they'll provide clarity for the entire industry. And then Stefano Du says, if they settle, we don't get clarity. So that's kind of what's been the conversation. Like, what is the implications for the rest of the industry? Like, what is the settlement going to entail? Obviously, when it comes to Ripple, the company, and the digital asset XRP, Brad Garland House and Stuart Alderati, Ripple's general counsel, made it quite clear, they settled right now if, they get regulatory clarity for the digital asset XRP moving forward. So say they come into some sort of agreements, obviously, when it comes to a settlement, there's going to be some kind of push and shove, give and take, try to get as much. Each side is going to try to get as much as they possibly can within the settlement, but is the rest of the industry going to be able to, use what's been produced in the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit to strengthen their position if the SEC comes after other projects? That's kind of been the big conversation. So what happens to Ethereum if Chairman Gensler and the SEC decide to go after them? What happens to Cardano? What happens to Polkadot? I'm just kind of speculating here, if they do settle with Ripple, the SEC does settle with Ripple, and obviously XRP gets its regulatory clarity. It's going to be the only digital asset that has true regulatory clarity, outside of Bitcoin. So it's what does that mean for the rest of the other digital assets? Is there going to be some sort of clause or stipulations within the settlement that says hey, this is suppressed. We're going to redact this. This isn't going to be made public. So that's going to make it to where other digital assets can't utilize, certain information or documents to strengthen their position if they do get sued and challenged by the SEC. That's kind of been the conversation that's been happening. It's going to be a waiting game to kind of see what happens. There's been a lot of speculation on, certain predictions of the end of the case. Obviously, the big one that we follow in the XRP community is James K. Fallon talking about, if this thing were to go to distance, we could see a resolution in March of 2023. Jeremy Hogan's had, his timeline, but he has agreed with James K. Fallon as well. John Deaton has his. So it's a bunch of speculation. Obviously, they had all their final filings. So it's just kind of a waiting game to kind of see what happens. But it's going to be quite interesting to see, if there is a settlement on the 15th, or, if we do go the distance and we do go to March, or as John Deaton said, June of 2023, just kind of a waiting game. And it's just a matter of when this thing takes off and not if. And what I mean by that is, some sort of regulatory clarity that comes out that actually allows, not just Ripple and XRP, but, the cryptocurrency space, the digital asset space to really flourish and do what it's set out to do. I thought this was interesting from Johnny, and I just wanted to talk about it. And I'm curious to see what you think. It says that there's two types of XRP investors. One, or A, says the ones who realize its future potential and keep buying because they never feel like they have enough, especially at these low prices. Or B, or two, the ones who want to know what's the least amount they should buy and still get rich. And there was a bunch of people kind of responding within this tweet thread here, and I thought it was quite interesting. I'm curious to know, like, what do you think? I can definitely see, people being in both camps. I'm certain there's an option C, but I think this is quite interesting because I do have some friends that are in both categories as well, and it's crazy because they do talk like that. I have a buddy that's like, yeah, I'm kind of feeling XRP, but I'm kind of into this and that. But, how much do you think I should get, Kels? And, how much do you think I should put into this and, to set myself up for the future, just so I'm not missing, the entire boat or whatever. And it's like, well, I don't know, man. But then again, I got, buddies that are in this category where they're like me, where they're like, man, I got to do everything I possibly can to keep accumulating, no matter, if we see more downside, I got to do the best I can to keep getting more because I see the writing on the wall. So I think it's quite interesting. Moving on, this is from David Gottstein again. It says, why hasn't Coinbase relisted XRP? And there's a conversation that's been happening. And a lot of people are talking about, obviously we have, the negative narratives that's been coming out. And, what we say is like, okay, now they're starting to fire up, the negativity and the suppression for, Ripple and XRP. They're starting to flood campaigns, with the main media outlets, certain individuals in the social media sphere, and it's almost like a coordinated effort to further suppress and scare people away from the digital asset XRP and the company Ripple. So there's people that's talking about like, okay, the reason why they haven't relisted it, well, obviously one of them, you have the whole fear of the SEC or whatever, but people are saying it almost seems as if they're trying to make it harder for people to acquire XRP. And, I honestly thought about like that part of, I guess, that factor, like from the beginning. It's like you start seeing how things are done, the fear tactics, the FUD, the suppression, and it's obvious. It's obvious that they. When I say they, I'm meaning these groups, these individuals, these groups, and these people in positions of power and wealth that don't want you to have it. That's clear. That's clearly what they're trying to do. And that's just kind of my opinion based on the evidence I've seen. And, when I've seen people kind of talk about this in this tweet thread, in this response to why hasn't Coinbase relisted XRP, all I could do is kind of just laugh and shake my head. I know for people like us, though, it's really interesting. We're going to do what we got to do to, hodl strong what we have and continue to accumulate what we can. Moving on here. This is from Stefan Huber. He says, because of FTX, Congress is now calling for an investigation into the SEC. So we talked about this in our video yesterday, I think, where we talked about how Congressman Tom Emmer was talking about Chairman Gary Gensler needs to come in and testify before Congress, right? So obviously, they were talking about, oh, we sent the letter and you didn't respond and you didn't answer the questions and yada, yada, yada. Just a bunch of words that's been happening. But it's like up until now, this whole FTX, scandal has emerged and surfaced and decimated our market. Now, they're calling for an investigation and within respect, obviously I don't know all the ins and outs when it comes to Congress. I don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. No one really does besides people that are there. Obviously this could have been, kind of building up over time, which it probably has, but like, it's crazy how now that you have the Sam Bankman-Fried and this FTX stuff, now everyone's kind of like, oh my gosh, like, this or that. And it's like, whoa, well, we've been talking about ETHgate and corruption within our government and the SEC, for 2 years now. We've been talking about, hey, you think they're going after Ripple and XRP, but they're not. They're coming after the entire industry, but we were ignored. But like all of a sudden now it's like, oh, we need to jump into this and investigate that. Either way, I'm glad things are starting to happen. It's just kind of a waiting game to kind of see if things really, I guess, come through in regards of, applying pressure to these negative actors within the industry, especially when it comes to our government officials. Hopefully they throw the book at them, but it's kind of up in the air. I don't think we really have real faith and trust in kind of, our so-called representatives stepping up for us. Obviously the decentralized community, and not just XRP community, but, the other solid people, investors, YouTubers, people on Twitter, people that are truly fighting the good fight for the health of the industry have stepped up, because we had to step up for ourselves and fight the good fight. But I think it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. So he says, because FTX Congress is now calling for an investigation into the SEC, yet there is not much more than unproven suspicions. Meanwhile, we have solid evidence of repeated criminal violations of law by the SEC's leader, director, and deliberate cover-up by the SEC for a year. And he has the laughing emoji. And I said, you can't make this stuff up. Now, with that being said, we all don't know, but Ben Armstrong, Big Boy Crypto's been talking about him and his team have, vital and very, I guess, sickening information in regards of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. So I think over time he's going to be, releasing more information. So we're going to see when we talk about, unproven suspicions, maybe there's some more factual things that he's been. I mean, it almost seems like he has everything in the bag, or, in a sense, how like you have those, bad guys in certain movies and they have like some sort of ledger, some black book or some ledger that if someone had it, it'd be like the end for them. It's almost like BitBoy Crypto, Ben Armstrong has that. So it's going to be a waiting game to kind of see what happens. But I thought this was an interesting take that Stefan Hubert had put up. And now I'm done rambling on that. Kathy Wood, I thought this was solid. She says, the Bitcoin blockchain didn't skip a beat during the crisis caused by opaque centralized players. No wonder Sam Bankman-Fried didn't like Bitcoin. It's transparent and decentralized. He couldn't control it. I mean, just like Tony says, well said, Kathy. I think that is well said. I really liked that tweet there, and I think it has some merit to it. And I guess it shows, one of the strengths of Bitcoin. I know, you have, your Bitcoin maxis and your other digital asset maxis, whatever. Skip all the tribalism, and then you just see, crypto for what it is. We're all on the same team, right? Obviously, it might be different use cases, utilities, whatever. Realize we're all on the same team. That is huge. And then, obviously they compare Bitcoin to what we're going through in, the geopolitical scene when it comes to, inflation and all the other things that's going on. They show you Bitcoin compared to all these different merits and figures on charts. And it's like, wow, Bitcoin and digital assets and crypto have been outstanding in relation. So they say Bitcoin is a hedge to all the madness. So we'll see. I think it's quite interesting. I'm going to end on this one right here. This is from Ben Armstrong from Big Boy Crypto. So we just talked about it. So obviously there's a lot of drama that's been, circling Ben Armstrong, and some of it may be self-inflicted, whatever. I really don't care about it, but I wanted to bring this up because there's been people that's been attacking him and him attacking other, social media platforms and, media companies and other YouTubers or whatever. Just the drama is insane. And I get it. Certain people want to bring certain awareness to certain things. And obviously some of it may be right and just, but I think, like we always talk about in our community, the tribalism has to stop. Obviously people need to be held accountable, but people can make mistakes. People can change their mind and change their opinions on things based on, new evidence surfacing and all that stuff. And I'm just saying that, but I thought this was kind of interesting. He said Cointelegraph will take 10,000 for literally anything for a PR. CoinDesk owned by DCG. The block paid mouthpiece for Alameda. I just don't understand why written media is not held to the same standard YouTubers are. When have you ever seen an expose on written crypto media? And there's people that was kind of going in on them. And I'm going to just cover, one of them here says, this from DIY Investing says, wait, I heard you were sponsored by FTX. Does that mean everything you just said was also directed at you? Or did you assume because you tried and harassed Sam, we all forgot? Obviously, Ben Armstrong says, F what you heard. It's wrong. I never took $1 from FTX, never even talked to them or had an account. So, I mean, there's more stuff going on. I mean, we got to stop the tribalism. And obviously, it seems like Big Boy Crypto, Ben Armstrong's really trying to fight the good fight and do the right thing and try to make this space as healthy as possible. Obviously, people have been speculating and they have their reasons why they can't stand him or they don't trust him or they think he's a flake, a fraud, or whatever. I definitely see, you know, a lot of the positive that he's been trying to do. And I'm curious to see what happens with this bill he's been talking about and then what he services in regards to this Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX stuff. So I'm going to keep following him and keep updating the community on what's happening. But the tribalism has to stop within the community. We have to realize we're all on the same team. And I think Jeremy Hogan said it best when he said that. But that's what I have for you. Make sure you come to the Crypto is Key Conversation YouTube channel, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Crypto is Key1. I really appreciate your support. I truly do. With all that being said, stay strong out there. Be safe.